Welcome back, fence sitters. ShoeOnHead has released a new video called The Male Loser Epidemic. Let's get into it.
Hello again, friends. Sorry
Hello.
I've been gone for quite a bit. Hopefully nothing too crazy happened. I feel like every time I take a break, like a war breaks out or something, but...
Oh, June. You know, hey, maybe July, but we got some June right now. Yeah, let's get through the catch up. I'm sure nothing of consequence happened since she last graced us with her presence.
Thankfully that did not happen. But at least we found out the real...
Epstein's client list doesn't exist, Justice Department says. Walking back theory Bondi had promoted. Yeah, this is okay. So when it comes to this Epstein thing, I'll just put my cards on the table. I've been thinking that Trump has gotten some pretty good W's recently. Love it or hate it, was very consistent with delivering on what he promised. I personally think that his actions in Iran or with the Iran situation, do I agree top to bottom with him? No, but he did probably what was the best move for the region and the country. I just don't think that anybody else needs nuclear weapons. And so, if Iran was on its way towards nuclear weapons, then so be it. And I mean, whether you agree with him or not, he's been delivering on his promise for illegal immigration. So from my perspective, I was like, at least he's sticking to his guns and being consistent. But when it comes to the Epstein thing, of course, I'm watching ShoeOnHead. Of course, I have deep opinions about Epstein and this whole debacle of the sexual assaults that he performed and used to solicit, to blackmail potentially highly powerful people across the world. And for them to try to, them being the Trump administration, just trying to very inelegantly, very publicly sweep it under the rug. It's just a massive, any political capital that Trump had gained with fans and, his MAGA, I don't want to say cult, but, the MAGA movement and people like me who are well, at least he's, doing what he said he was going to do, whether I agree with it or not. This is a big, massive L. And I think I'm not the first one to say this. I've been watching a lot of Leaflet and Asmongold covering the situation. So, yeah, suffice to say, not happy about this one bit.
Epstein files were the friends we made along the way. Welcome back to the ShoeOnHead channel. If it is your first time here, run. I am ShoeOnHead, and
too late.
On this channel, I like to cover cultural issues, mostly surrounding men's issues. It's what I've been doing for over a decade, and frankly, I'm exhausted. Many of you have been along for the ride, and you have seen me go from a chipper, lively 24-year-old making fun of BuzzFeed and Tumblr feminists to a bitter, calloused 34-year-old talking about very real and growing men's issues. One of the main men's issues I have been covering in great detail lately has been the male loneliness epidemic. Yeah, but turns out I was wrong. We don't have a male loneliness epidemic. We have a male loser epidemic. It's not a male loneliness epidemic. No, it's a male mediocrity epidemic. It's a male loser epidemic.
The male loser epidemic has gotten so bad that...
Wow, the conversation is progressing, evolving in front of us. We once had a Charmander with the male loneliness epidemic. Now we have a Charmeleon with the male loser epidemic. Maybe the male loner epidemic is coming, and that'll be our Charizard. Or the male, what's a loony epidemic? The male lazy. Oh, there we go. Lazy males. I mean, with how much the media keeps reporting on, well, please come back, men, to the dating pool, to the world. Please, reinvest. I feel like lazy could be the next thing. I mean, it's already sort of the talking point the right likes to use towards young men who are disenfranchised, saying, they're spending all their time playing Xbox at home, They need to go out there and get jobs. I mean, the word lazy is right on the tip of their tongue. So let's see if that's what this evolves into. But right now, we're at the male loser epidemic.
It's honestly so pathetic at this point.
Now, I don't always talk about men's issues. No, sometimes I talk about politics, and sometimes I mix the two together. Now, I know a lot of you don't like politics. You don't care about politics. But politics cares about you, and it will
100%.
enter your life no matter how hard you try to avoid it. But thankfully, I have the perfect app to help you navigate this difficult, confusing political landscape. So let's quickly give a shout out to today's sponsor, Ground News, before we get into this video, shall we? Ground News is a website and an app that gives readers a fun and transparent way to read the news from all across the political spectrum, from left, right, and center. Every story comes with a quick visual breakdown of the political bias, ownership, and headlines that helps you understand the full story and make sure you're getting both sides. One of my favorite features from Ground News has to be the blind spot feature, which shows you news stories that—
A part of me feels like June had to be getting ready to go out for a night on the town, a date night with her husband, and just stopped and did the ad really quick because she looks almost too good for YouTube.
Have been covered by only one side of the political spectrum and ignored by the other. For example, here is a story about how the CIA uncovered a Russiagate fraud, and right away we can see how it has been covered by 41 sources, and out of those 41 sources, 93% of them lean right, with only 2 left-wing outlets reporting the story. Ground News also makes it really easy to compare headlines to see just how political bias can affect the framing of a story. For example, this story about Zohran Mamdani winning the Democratic primary in New York. This left-leaning outlet says Zohran Mamdani's win just got a little sweeter. And meanwhile, the right-wing outlet says, meet Zohran Mamdani, the man who will ruin New York. As you can see, very different vibes. I have been using Ground News since 2021 because I think it is so informative, so fun, and it helps me see how different stories are framed so differently, and I love it. I highly recommend it. It's one of the few apps that I wake up and just immediately check. But don't just take my word for it. Even the Nobel Peace Center called it an excellent way to stay informed, avoid echo chambers, and expand your worldview. High praise. Best of all, I am currently offering 40% off their Vantage plan, which is the plan I use to access all of their amazing features. This comes out to only like $5 a month, which is like the price of a coffee. So go to ground.news/shoe or use the QR code right there on screen, or the link in the video description down there to subscribe to Ground News today. I feel like what they're doing is really important, especially right now, and it helps us approach the news in a more fair and balanced way. So thank you to Ground News for sponsoring this video, and thank you, the viewer, for not skipping the ad.
No, I didn't.
Right. Now, let's get back to the video. With all these issues men are facing, they seem to be moving to the right and the Republicans more, since the left and Democrats have essentially just become the young men eat and die movement.
Yeah, well, I don't think that the Republicans specifically are going to be good for men. I do see why, it's like you choose the lesser of two evils, and yeah, how should I say? I don't think it's necessarily fair. This really was like the talking point post the election was like, the Democrats, or during the election, I guess, leading up to, and it's just like the Democrats are just saying sayonara, saying vitriolic things about men. And I mean, I do feel like it's like not the politicians themselves, but the echo chamber of the Democrat and left-leaning side of things. That's so it's kind of like they're, no matter what the politicians do, they're kind of being your teamed. This is a concept I want to I have, where it's like you find the worst part of the other side and you lump them in with the officials on the other side. And so they Kamala Harris was lumped in with like very vitriolic radical I don't what you would call it. It's not philosophy, I guess it's culture, like online culture. that was specifically, anti-male. So, but I don't think that the Republicans are really going to be doing all that much good for men either. I don't think any political party is going to be doing good for anybody in general. I'm not a big fan of the government. So let's see how this conversation has evolved with her deep dive.
Months ago, I covered how the Democratic Party was losing young men, and I predicted Kamala Harris would lose in part because of young men overwhelmingly voting for Trump. And I was correct. Well, now the Democrats have unveiled their final solution to the right-wing male loser epidemic. Democrats spending millions to learn how to speak to American men and win back the working class. Democrats have blown millions of dollars on efforts to appeal to American men who turned to President Donald Trump in droves on Election Day in hopes of winning back the working class. Democrats have spent $20 million on their efforts, with donors and strategists holing up in luxury hotel rooms, brainstorming how to convince working class men to return to the party.
Yeah, that's how you win back working class people, by spending billions of dollars researching how to win back working class people. And making sure that that information gets out to the public. This should have been a very tight-lipped initiative if they were going to spend this much money on it. Something that most of these men would think, oh, well, why didn't you just go and talk to men? Why they're not being quiet about this. It doesn't cost you $20 million to have a couple of YouTube premium subscriptions, or get some Twitch subs. You can go out there and listen directly to the men talking about these issues. It's honestly, what are they spending the $20 million on? Did they not spend enough on the election to see the results that came from the election, to learn their lesson?
Ah yes, nothing more relatable to working class men than luxury hotel rooms. Great job, guys. The plan? Codename SAM, or Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan, promises to use the funds to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces. The effort also recommends Democrats buy advertisement in video games, among other things. The Democratic Party is
time out, guys. You understand. You don't understand. Like, your ads, they've, I feel like the gamer guy who, we all supposedly loathe at this point, or who's loathed by the media, they are inoculated to any messaging directed towards them. You have to hit them diagonally. Any strategy in life really is, you can rarely go head on. You have to go diagonal for it to pan out. You're not going, I don't know how to say this. It's going to be too obvious. It's going to be too, it's going to be cringe. It's going to cause people to roll their eyes, and honestly, type slurs in the comments. That's going to be the biggest thing.
Treating young men like exotic animals they're studying. Now, as you can see here, is the young man in his natural habitat.
Baldy.
In a dark, messy cave surrounded by Taco Bell wrappers and empty Mountain Dew bottles.
A1 sauce?
Here is another young man, as you can see, also dwelling in a dark cave. This one has dyed his hair blue to scare off potential predators. Unfortunately, it also scares off potential mates. But moving on, here is another young man, we think. We're not quite sure about this one. We're still studying it. Listen,
they are definitely a species, gender entity upon themselves. Nuxes.
Instead of spending $20 million to do that stupid maybe you should, I don't know, actually listen to men. I listen to men for free all the time. All I have to do is read my comment section. Let's see here. ShoeOnHead is a perfect example of why we need to repeal the 19. Greetings from Albania. I hate women so much it's unreal. Ooh, Shoe, mommy, milkies, mommy.
Shoe, you didn't have to put my comment up on screen. I feel so honored, but call me mommy. Please. I'm a little flustered here.
One time I got my penis stuck in a soda bottle. Okay, on second thought, maybe my comment section...
My joke was too early. I should have saved it for the last one. Oh my goodness. Oh, that had to hurt.
Is not the best source.
Since Trump scored big with young male voters last election, Democrats are spending $20 million to learn how to speak their language. I think it's a waste of money. Maybe these guys should spend their money on teaching men to not be such sexists. Maybe.
My father hated The View because he's a Fox News Republican. And I didn't know. I just assumed, like, they were just piping him, hot garbage or, just, I didn't know what it was. And now that I've been engaging more in this political these political spheres and really getting to the bottom of it, this is put on TV. Like the View, if you put it in a movie as like political commentary, as propaganda, like, as mock propaganda, you would, it would be ridiculed. It would be like, this is beyond parody. This is not good parody, but it's reality. It stinks. It should be taken off the air. It like, we do not need people seeing this. Like, this is something I really think we need to get to. Like, there are, like, people talk about the woke mind virus, but there are, like, legitimate, like, viruses, viral thoughts that can get into your head and worm their way in. And I'm sure people out there who disagree with me are going to be like, oh, you have those mind viruses. And you know what, buddy? RFK can't be the only one with the worms. There got to be enough to go around.
But the stats don't bear that out now.
Yeah, thank you.
Look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America, but it's the feminization of men. There are a lot of young women out there that want to get married. They want to have kids. They want to have stable families. But there are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash.
Oh no. The very night I was sitting on my couch writing the script to my video about how the Democrats are spending $20 million to relate to young men, this came on my TV on Fox News. A Tommy Lahren and Laura Ingraham segment about stay-at-home sons, men who still live at home. Literally minutes after this aired, it went absolutely viral on Twitter for not good reasons. So we are going to unpack this.
Yeah, I think I've seen a little bit of that too. But basically, how should I say? This is a very systemic problem, in my opinion. I'm not the most versed. I'm still catching up. I'm still doing my research, doing my own research. But these men will have no real, like, we're dealing with a generation that is just now coming of age that had, just, how should I say this nicely? Jordan Peterson didn't get there early enough, in my opinion. And also he got so ridiculed and so drowned out, and then only to have, like, his thunder stolen by the true dark side of masculinity, Andrew Tate. But these guys, they were just basically put into a system not designed to make them thrive, and given, like, pretty much zero real direction, and taught to go for, and this is something I want to talk about more, which is like, everybody was taught that the highest aspiration was to be something of a creative. And I don't even want to say creative, because the creativity is the key to it. They were just taught to want to be, to aspire to be, like, a celebrity, some sort of influential person, an influencer. But but the thing is to be one of those people, you have to be very lucky. That's number one. Like, everything else that comes after this, it also has to be topped with a cherry of luck. But you also have to be a very hard worker with a vision, a captivating personality, and a creative mind. That is a combination that doesn't happen too frequently. And if you have those things, you should be guided towards that lifestyle and rewarded for it. if you succeed, if you get that cherry on top. But if you don't have those things, you should not be advertised. You need to be pushed towards something sustainable and beneficial to society that you can learn. And there's plenty of people out there who have the capability of learning those jobs, those occupations, and they should have been somewhat glorified. They should have been talked about with renown, and it should have been mentioned that your life could be made on them. But instead, you just tell everybody that the goal is to be rich and famous, and you don't mention all the burden of being somebody who's trying to attain that goal and what it really takes, which is everything I mentioned, plus to really enrich yourself and others, you also have to have like a point of view and perspective, very much like June here, where you are trying to get across a message and trying to reach people. That's what keeps you going. She doesn't, I'm pretty sure she wakes up wanting to address the problem. She's in love with a problem, and she spends her waking days heading towards like cultivating, researching, writing, performing, editing, like all of these things. And she also happened to have the grit to keep going, even through criticism, through probably low view counts, life changes, I'm sure. I mean, she's gone from being, like she said, 24-year-old e-girl to like 34-year-old commie mommy, like literal mother. That's what I'm trying to say here. So it's just, I think that's a huge problem. We have been trying, we have abandoned the idea of like, what can most people be? The humanity is on a bell curve, and we're somewhere along that bell curve, and most people are the median type of person. You're just average intelligence, you're just average personality, and it's only the people who are outside of that and the margins, out towards those either side of the margins, that have, in my opinion, what it takes to be interesting enough and crazy enough and determined enough to go for those outlier lifestyles. We shouldn't be trying to get everybody to become an outlier. That's how you end up with an event with 30 photographers and 0 electricians.
Piece by piece. Because even though everyone was mocking it and making fun of it, as far as I saw, nobody was really dissecting it and breaking down exactly why she was so egregiously wrong. So come join me in debunking the male loser epidemic. Because who else better equipped to talk about men's issues than 2 stupid blonde bimbos? Hold on one second.
And a brunette one. There we go.
3 stupid blonde bimbos. Sorry. I felt left out. All right, let's go. Wait. I need my gamer fuel.
Hell yeah.
See? I do drink it. That one's for you, Tectone.
It's a major problem. And Speaker
I wish he had played the clip, because the Tectone says a lot of stuff, so I might have missed that one.
Johnson has been talking about those maybe deadbeat folks that are on Medicaid, and maybe some of those folks are the stay-at-home sons. We don't know. But I'll tell you this, leave it to Gen Z to rebrand laziness and social awkwardness as something cutesy, like a stay-at-home son. But Laura, I gotta tell you, this is also a big problem when it comes to, I think, declining birth rates, people not getting married and having children. That's a big problem. They blame it on women. Well, look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America, but it's the feminization of men. There are a lot of young women out there that want to get...
All right, to that point, I mean, like June's going to come in here, we're going to talk all these points, but I do think that there is something to be said about the feminization of men. I am a product of divorce, and I primarily lived with my mother through most of my life, and even before that, look, I like my dad. I love my dad. Was not the most engaged in my rearing. That's not to say he was dead beat, because he was there. It's just his way of being there wasn't in a guidance way. It was more of a hangout thing. I don't think he really understood being a father. I'm realizing him or some of his family might see this, but I do. I think he'd be the first to admit it. I think he would admit that he wasn't a teacher. He wasn't a guide of sorts. So I think that it left a lot of masculinity as a mystery, and I probably overcompensated by learning female things from my mother. To give you an idea, I'm much more comfortable and competent in the kitchen than I am in a car. Not driving a car is fine, but I mean, like, mechanics. I'm not a mechanic. I'm very not the most eager to fix things around the house, like these things that you would normally associate with masculinity, with taking on the man role in a household. I'm much more, I jokingly say that I'm ready to be a house husband. That would be maybe I'm not a stay-at-home son, but I am an eager house husband. So I think that there is definitely something there with what she's talking about. I do think, and I think, like, our school system also favors complacency, a sort of complacency that's a little bit more feminine, and it does not allow for, I don't know, the radical ideas of a masculine mind.
Married, they want to have kids, they want to have stable families, but there are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash, and that's why we have declining birth rate.
Where do we got this DoorDash money? If you're ordering DoorDash, stop. Get help. Go and get your food yourself or make it. Do not waste your money. I barely have any money. I am so destitute right now, and I have a job. Not like a big boy job. I'm a waiter, but still, I could not imagine dashing, paying those kinds of fees. I'll get in my car. I'll walk to a store. I'll do something to avoid that. Like, DoorDash is for people, it's for people so successful in making so much money that for them to stop and make food or go out and get food would actually cost them more money than they would save by doing it themselves. Does that make sense? Like, the fee for the delivery is less than how much money it would cost them to walk away from their work. And if you can't justify that, then don't do it. It is a waste. And you're talking, and trust me, I'm talking as somebody who has wasted plenty of money on cigarettes and alcohol. That's my DoorDash, actually. I really need to get that under, I'm getting that locked down, okay? I'd like to take a moment to thank y'all so much for watching. Here at Jolie's, we really appreciate your time. So please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with like-minded individuals or somebody you want to shake up their mentality on the gender war. So with that out of the way, let's get back into the video.
And a lot of other problems in society. It's time to go out, get a job, breathe the fresh air, meet people in real life. Let's just get back to basics.
So first of all, this stay-at-home son thing is not a real thing. It was a random throwaway, self-deprecating joke some contestant on Jeopardy said. One f***ing guy. Because I guess there's nothing else important going on that they could cover on the news. They literally made this into a fake phenomena so they can on young men. Yeah. Meanwhile, Democrats are spending millions of dollars trying to win back young men. Oh no, the young men are leaving us.
I'm going to say, with that $20 million, they can make a movie. They can make a movie for young men. Something touchy-feely. I'm sure with the Democrat, with all the connections that the Democratic Party has to Hollywood, they could probably, at the very least, turn it into a award contender. And if it was directed by the right people and starring the right people, and I'm sure these people would take scale for, the Democratic Party. There's people out there who would connect to young men with a movie that they make that would work for scale in order to make it for cheap, that they could make a $20 million $20 million movie that would probably reach more people than their efforts to study young men. Just throwing that out there. And if they chose the right filmmaker, they wouldn't even have to do their research. That person would be able to write it from their experience.
In droves, how do we get them back? Don't worry, I got this. Hey, you fat, lazy, Cheeto dust-covered slobs, f*** you.
Ooh,
nice.
That did something to me.
Thanks. I love you. I love you too. Is the amount of young men living home with their parents increasing? Yes. Is it because they're lazy bums and just want to order DoorDash all day? No. And also, they're not paying for DoorDash, Tommy. They're financing it. Come on.
Oh, God.
Get with the times.
Nothing gives me stomach cancer faster than knowing that people out there are financing their food.
There are a lot of young men out there who want to live in mama's basement and order DoorDash. And that's why we have declining birth rates. It's time to go out, get a job, breathe the fresh air.
Have either of you tried applying for a job as a young man recently? Or tried buying a house on the salary of one of these young men? Have you experienced the dating market, been on the dating sites as a young man? No? Interesting, okay. Just wondering. Listen, I know the average age of a Fox News viewer.
I mean, June has, because June is secretly a young man. Well, young, yeah.
Like 70 nowadays, and you need to pander to them. But Tommy, you were like 2 years younger than me. You know this shit isn't true. Why are you talking like this? Why are you talking like a f***ing boomer? I'm sorry, I have no other word for this, but I hate this like generational pick-me shit. I was born in the wrong generation. I'm not like those other young people. And you know what? She's not like those other young people. Not all young people can afford a nice nose job and lip filler and get a cushy job on Fox News based entirely on merit, I'm sure.
Ooh, burn. I love it when women burn each other. Not just because I'm a sexist, but because they know the details. I wouldn't have caught that nose job or lip filler. I would be speaking outside my wheelhouse. I'm a feminine guy. It's like it takes a true woman with, you know, who gets those advertisements. I'm sure that her feed on Instagram or whatever, on Twitter, has, advertisements for these procedures. So yeah, I do love that. It's like anything. It's like, it's like when, let's just say black people make fun of other black people, or white people make fun of other white people. It's just better when when the call's coming from inside the house, the details, storytelling is all about specificity or something to that effect. It's like the specificity that comes with having lived in those circles, having that perspective, just chef's kiss.
The main problem with this brain-dead boomer-ass take is not only is it cringe, but it's completely divorced from reality. This slop is specifically designed for people who paid like $5 for a f***ing house. And listen, not all boomers, okay? My parents are boomers, they are lovely people. A lot of you guys are boomers, but when the baby boomer generation sends its people, it is not sending their best. They are not sending you. They're sending people who have lots of problems. They're bringing the housing crisis. They're bringing wage stagnation. They're falling for AI-generated photos on Facebook. But some, I assume, are good people. But my God, I truly believe they do not understand how good they had it. They could support a family on a single income. A single income from a job that didn't require a college degree. Their leaders didn't prostitute away their economic future for some cheap plastic shit from China. They inherited the greatest economy known to man, and they pretend it's a paradise that they earned. I just don't understand, like, why don't boomers and spiritual boomers like Tommy Lauren see people struggling and go, wow, I wish I could fix this. They should have it better than I had it. And you wonder why so many millennials and zoomers don't want kids. I want to make the world a better place for my children. I want to make the world a better place for my children. Ugh. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you spoiled brat. Children. Not happening.
Yeah.
Well, look at what young women have to choose from. The pickings are slim. Yes, we might have a feminism problem in America, but it's the feminization of men.
Young men are...
So to go back to what she was talking about, and I'm trying yet again, this is boiling in my brain recently, but essentially it kind of goes back to the viral thoughts that can happen. But as they said, the baby boomer generation is considered the me generation, I think, colloquially. And it's like they've perfected, or at the very least, they got to the point of, like when AI was actually able to make a picture that you wanted to look at, the psychology and using psychology and propaganda in marketing got to that point where it was good enough to actually have a massive impact on people and how their buying habits, their perception of the world, their voting habits, all of this finally caught up. And I'm not saying that our generations, like millennials onward or Gen X onward, Gen X kind of like they started to get the inoculation, they had a better idea of being counterculture. Now then the culture bottled up and repackaged counterculture and sold it to the less, like the ones who were more like coming up from behind and just wanted to look cool like all those other artists. You know, that's another thing, like, you know, people chasing the artist, you know, like aesthetic and lifestyle instead of trying to just be normal, you know, average people. And then, you know, and all that did was create more markets for fashion, more markets for music, blah, 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 for art. It could be a good thing. But ultimately what I'm saying is that our generations, at the very least, I'm not saying we're completely immune to it. Of course, we are very much still manipulated constantly. But it was the boomers who got it first. And I do think that turn, as she said, fuck them kids kind of mentality, you know, like so somebody said, the baby boomers are a generation that it got a lollipop handed to them by their parents and loved it so much that they expected their children to give them a lollipop back. And it was like they didn't see it as passing the baton. They saw it as, I want the baton all the time. And it's because of this like hacking of the everybody's brains to think that they are the main character, that they're not part of a community, that they are their own individual self that is, you know, more important than the community. Their needs are more important than the needs of everybody else around them. Which is ironic because I am very much leaning towards libertarianism as I'm getting older and, like, you know, kind of been like dispelled of the, you know, leftist movement's myth. And I don't see that as like a good future for us to have if that was to actually succeed. But I still hold on to the, somewhat of a collectivist side in the sense of like, we can't all be individuals. We just cannot, or at the very least individual snowflakes. We can't all be the special person, the special child. And as far as like this is why I also, ironically, I'm laying it all out there, but I don't think that I can completely be about a free market because the market is so powerful. Like, ideas are so powerful that they can destroy, that they can wreak havoc upon us, upon people. And they have done so. And it's like, that's why we kind of need regulation. We need to tiptoe through these things, and going headlong into undiscovered territory and bringing everybody with us at the same time is so deadly. So yeah, it's weird. I'm a pro regulation libertarian. I'll figure out where exactly this falls. I do think though that I would rather have the free market and try to control it than not have the free market and that just leads to blunder, because the things that the free market does well are worth the caution that we have to engage in. I respect it a lot, I'll say that, but just like money, I respect money. I don't love money. But I show respect. At least I try to. Anyways, that's a whole nother thing. So, like, I'm working these out, and this is my way of just trying to talk through these ideas so I can get them down and actually speak to them. So let's see where that goes, and let's see where this video goes.
Becoming lazy because they're becoming feminized. So they're becoming lazy because they act more like women? What did she mean by this, chat? I know there's like a decrease in testosterone or something happening, but men are moving right-wing all over the world. Does that correlate with the feminization? Or, I mean, there are suspiciously a lot of far-right femboys, so maybe. But
oh man, the perfect woman, a far-right femboy. Oh.
Here's the thing, Tammy. There is absolutely no evidence that young women want to start families more than young men. None. In fact, all the data says the exact opposite. According to Pew Research, 64% of women younger than 50 say they just don't want to have children. No reason, they just don't want them. Versus 50% of men who say the same. Another study by Archbridge Institute shows the same. 63% of women without children said they have no desire to have a child, while only 50% of men said the same. For men, the most commonly cited factor was personal finance, but among women, the strongest reason not to have a child was their desire to maintain their personal independence.
right there. See, like, I think it really has gotten into ladies. And like I said, try to be, I think more people should just try to be the most normal version of, the most medium version of a human. It's just in our DNA. It's in us to want to procreate. I think that it's, I don't think that the desire to have your independence, I don't know, it feels like you think you want your independence because you do want your independence through certain ages. And I think then it becomes a self hypnosis or self propaganda of some sort, where it's like, what the person I was when I was 22 is still the valid person I want to be today, even if other urges are telling me other things. I still want to live true to that 22-year-old self. And there's so many people that I've met that one of the most depressing kinds of people I meet today is like somebody who's in their 30s who's still holding on to that torch of being in their 20s. And it's probably because it's a mirror reflecting back at myself in some regards, because I have not really done all those things. I don't have a child of myself for myself. I don't have a house, blah, blah, blah. But I do think that I don't know. When I do it, it's based. And when they do it, it's cringe. You get what I'm saying? It's like, yeah. So I don't love the idea that people, and I don't think we're meant to be independent. I think we are meant to be part of a bigger thing, a family, a society. And I think that wanting personal independence throughout your entire life, like I said, it's one thing when you're going out and finding yourself and you use that independence to define who you are. But it's another thing when you're just like, I just want to, it's like, I want to travel and see the world and I'm 48. It's like, didn't you get that done? I would just like to take a minute to remind everybody out there watching, if this is your first video or your fifth or whatever, I am a game designer. And my game, X Seekers of Fortune, is being manufactured right now and is going to be heading to America before the end of the year. So if you want to get yourself a first edition copy with all the bells and whistles that came with our Kickstarter campaign, becoming a backer at Kickstarter, then get your copy now. The link is in the description below. This is an action-adventure strategy card game that is an all-in-one box experience. So if you like Magic the Gathering, but you don't want to inflict Magic the Gathering onto your friends and family, then just play X Seekers of Fortune. You're not going to be contributing to their gambling issues. So with that said, check out the game, and let's get back into the video.
Basically, they don't want to give up their brunch and mimosas.
Yeah.
They've been ass-blasted with propaganda their whole lives, telling them their lives will be ruined, their bodies will be ruined, they'll never have fun again, they'll be miserable forever if they have children. And as someone who has had a children, best decision I've ever made. 10/10, highly recommend, would do it again. But yes, this idea that men are the ones primarily responsible for the low birth rates is laughable. We're laughing over here. But honestly, it's not really women or men's fault. There are a lot of factors that play into this. But Tommy, I really gotta ask, is it men or is it you?
This is gonna be the summer of canceling boys. All of my friends are attractive. All of my friends are successful. All of my friends have something going on. Almost every single one of them have an issue with men. But if all of these women, including myself, are having issues, then I have to think, it might not be us. It might be you. It is not just the guys in Los Angeles, Nashville, Dallas, and they're not any better in the Midwest. Quite frankly, I think they're trash all over this country.
My friends are successful. Men don't give a shit about that. They'd marry a Walmart cashier if she was nice to them.
Oh, yeah.
I think men...
100%. Unfortunately, it's not an added bonus. If anything, it could potentially be a detriment to your potential relationships, but it isn't what men are looking for. If you need more information on this, look up Homath. He has plenty of videos about like what is attracted to men and what isn't really considered in the attraction. And this is very biological. I mean, unless you're like advertising that you're looking for a house husband and you're looking for a relationship where you are the like provider. But even then, that's scary for men, because that just means that if you find a better house husband, or you find somebody who could be your provider, as you know, if a woman finds somebody who's like actually more successful, because that's ultimately what women are attracted to. You know, it's hypergamy, I believe it's called. And I know that just saying that word, well, boom, someday I hope to be well off enough and actually listen to where somebody makes a hit piece and goes through all these early videos of mine and finds all these things I say. And I'm sure just saying the word hypergamy, boom, I'm probably in somebody's, you know, teardown right now saying it. To include this portion, please, you know, for full context. Anyways, but yeah, these are not like, we're looking for, you know, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I do know it is that men are looking for a partner that is in, you know, that they can provide for and take care of. That's like what we've been doing this entire time. What we're going to be doing 300 years from now, probably even better in 300 years from now, because this all will be sorted out and society will have crumbled and we're back at, you know, base level. Yeah. And so and having somebody who is an independent woman, you know, hey, look, yet again, don't mean to put extra hate on myself, but I love Destiny's Child. That was a group that I was coming of age when they were releasing their songs. But I think Independent Woman was not a good, you know, move for, you know, it was a good move for them, obviously, for Beyonce. But I don't think it was like a culturally correct thing. This was one of those viruses that got into the heads of women, and they put a really good ditty to it. So it stuck. You know, imagine, you know, you get a song stuck in your head. Now imagine that song is a propaganda piece, essentially. That's what Beyonce did to us.
Between the ages of 20 and 30 are not ready, in most cases, for marriage, are usually not ready to be husbands and fathers.
That's a cultural issue. So, look,
no, I would actually, back to your point,
yeah.
I think it's a biological thing.
So let me get this straight. Men are all trash and won't commit and won't leave mommy's basement, and they're destroying the birth rates. But also young men are biologically incapable of commitment and being parents. What? But wait, there's more. She also believes women don't have to bring anything to the table.
Oh.
And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider, that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money. But I don't think a man needs to get something out of it to be a manly man, a protector and a provider. If you think you need to get something out of it, I quite frankly don't consider you a real man.
Never before in history have women demanded.
It's reciprocation. At the very least, it's reciprocation. I give you this, you give me that. I give you, I don't know, I provide you food, you provide me comfort. I don't know exactly what it's going to be. It's, you know, it's different for everybody in every relationship. Actually, it's probably very much the same for everybody in every relationship. But let's go back to that bell curve thing I said. We're all pretty much the same. Like, you want to believe you're like, you know, so different. Like, yeah, maybe your version of comfort is getting to suck on their toes, while my version of comfort is cuddling. I don't know. I'm not trying to pass judgments here. But at the end of the day, it all equates to, you know, getting some sort of comfort. I don't know. Let's keep going.
Did so much and offered so little. So before we get deeper into this retarded, manufactured, stay-at-home son narrative, let's check the Facebook comments of this Fox News video, because I am really interested to see what, like, the typical Fox News viewer thinks about.
Because if it's on Facebook, it's might as well call it Boomer Book at this point. Face Boomer, Boomer Face.
This. If the women are anything like these two, I can hardly blame the men for staying home and not wanting to date them. Blame.
Yes.
These two women have a combined age of 93, and they have 0 children between both of them. You both have repugnant personality types, so listening to this was like male birth control to me. My goodness! Boomers are ruthless! Bunch of sissies. I served 6 years, 2 years in Southeast Asia after Vietnam was over. When I was 18, rent was $450 and I could afford to get my own place. She's so spot on. Nothing screams I'm a loser run from me than a guy living at home in his parents' house with his 12-year-old boy's bedroom decor at age of 30. Thank God we raised our sons to be men, who grew up, lived on their own, found their soulmate, got married, bought a beautiful home, and started a family. I was out the door at 18, worked on the assembly line at Dodge and in the Air Force at 19, never went back home. I can't relate to this. Yes, we know you people can't relate. We know. But the world has changed. Why can't you people get this through your heads? I will never let my son stay home. I'm trying to push them out of the nest. Okay, I really gotta ask, is this an Anglo thing? Immediately kicking your kid out when they turn 18 years old? My Mediterranean mind cannot comprehend this. And honestly, why the f would a man leave home, leave his mother's cooking, for a woman who probably can't cook? Not me, though. Personally, I can cook amazing homemade meals. I'll have you know I am a great trad wife.
Nuggies! Oh, yeah. There we go. You got some sauce for those nuggies? Oh, yeah. Ooh.
Bone apple teeth. Now, unfortunately, Tommy Lauren wasn't the only one pushing this stupid, lazy young men go get a job bullshit. Mike Johnson did it, referencing 29-year-old men playing video games all day. Steve Scalise did it with 35-year-old men playing video games all day. And just the other night, I saw this on my TV. Again.
A Wall Street Journal headline got our attention. The new dream job for young men, stay-at-home son. It's a phrase that's taken off since 27-year-old Brendan Leo won $59,000 on Jeopardy. And he has a master's degree in political science, but he's unemployed. Grow up, get a job, get a wife, build a family.
Just get a wife, bro. Just get a job, bro.
Oh, get a job? Yeah. Just get a job? Why don't I strap on my job helmet and squeeze down into a job cannon and fire off into job land?
God damn. I never thought I would relate to Charlie, of all them.
Jobs growing jobbies!
The term welfare queen must have fell out of fashion with Republicans, because it seems even they know the approved safe demographic to go after now. Because it's very obvious what demographic they are talking about when they say young men in their basements playing video games. This just get a job lazy attitude is not surprising, but it's especially funny coming from Fox News of all places. Fox News that spends so much time yapping about immigrants taking American jobs. Fox News will talk for years about how Americans are being screwed out of the workforce. But when this issue manifests itself in Gen Z, suddenly it's a moral failure. The fact is, a lot of American jobs held by men are being lost to automation, offshoring, and yes, cheap foreign labor.
Well, don't forget artificial intelligence, unless you said that and somehow I blanked.
Companies and billionaires would rather have cheap labor that they can essentially abuse, not pay fair wages to, just good little worker drones who won't unionize, rather than hire American workers for a living wage.
And this is like, like I said, with the Trump being deporter in chief, whatever they're saying these days, the fact of the matter is that we've kind of have a drug problem in America, and that drug problem is cheap foreign labor that we have here in the States. And I'm not necessarily, I think that the propaganda of saying that these people are, what is it called? Criminals of various types and unsavory, that I think is like what fires up the base. But the real problem and the real talking point that I perk up and pay attention to is these folks are doing, they're basically undercutting the entire American work system and American economy, by taking on jobs that should be probably paid more. And yeah, it's like, how are you supposed to, negotiate for the value of your labor when somebody else behind, around or behind you is, undercutting you? So that is probably the more compelling narrative. In fact, I'm sure I bet you in his heart of hearts, if you were to, actually get Trump talking about it, he probably would talk about that aspect more than the criminal aspect. He just knows that to get people fired up, it's the criminal thing that has to be, be going forward. And yeah, going back to that whole, be just the most normal version of yourself, unless you can't, and this is a line I'll save, or, I'll use in the video I make about this. That is probably not a reaction video. You should try to be the most normal person unless you absolutely can't be. I think I've fallen into that category of somebody who can't be a normal person for various reasons and throughout my life. I think I am an outlier. Now, being an outlier, there's two sides of that outlier curve, and one of them sucks. And one of them sucks a little bit less because you have money. I think that's they both are not great. You shouldn't be aspiring to be these things because you are lonely. when you are in these outlying groups, because there's not that many people you can relate to. There's not that many people who, actually make you want to be, who make you feel welcome. It always feels like I'm like, people are suspicious of me. Even when I'm putting on my nicest face, that I feel people feel guarded. I've had to feel guarded because I feel like if I reveal too much of myself, I will, alienate myself from these folks. So I constantly, and that could just be a me thing, like, but going back to what I was about to saying, that was a tangent. If you are able to be a normal person, my suggestion, my advice is to rise as high as you can in whatever field that you can excel in. And then once you're kind of settled at your peak, then you look around you and organize with the people who are also there, whether that be creating a social club or creating a union, whatever it is. Those are your people for the most part. If you're in if you don't think that they're your people, then you have really driven yourself to a dead end of some sort that is an existential nightmare. But that's when you should, don't, like, if you're somebody who's just doing a summer job working at a movie theater, probably just keep to yourself, or just go out and have fun with everybody. But if you're a lifer at a movie theater, then you should probably consider, like, how can we make this better for everybody else here who's a lifer. So that's when I think, unionization should definitely happen. When you are at your destination, unionize.
The cheaper the labor they hire, the more money they make. I remember when Bernie Sanders called open borders a Koch brothers conspiracy.
Yes. Open borders? That's a Koch brothers proposal, which says essentially there is no United States.
But it would make a lot of the global poor richer, wouldn't it?
And it'd make everybody in America poor. Then you're doing away with the concept of a nation state.
Where'd that guy go? A lot of these jobs being taken are jobs traditionally held by men, like construction and factory jobs, manual labor work. But it's not just manual labor jobs, it's also the tech industry and business industry, which are careers also mainly held by men. There are many, many examples of this, such as Microsoft recently cutting thousands of American workers while requesting 14,000 more H-1B workers this year. Some of those...
Disgusting. If you are on a Windows PC, and I might be talking to somebody specifically that I know, if you're watching this video, you know who you are. Do not act high and mighty about being a Windows user. I'm an Apple user. You can see it right here. I'm not going to act high and mighty about using Apple. I use Apple because I'm dumb. You use Windows because you're lazy. That's my opinion. These two companies are not great. One's just aesthetically more pleasing and more efficient, in my opinion, and the other one's more open, and you could do, you could be more powerful, whatever. The only people who get to brag are the Linux users. They get to brag about their computers and their operating system, and everybody else needs to shut up and stop. This is not a console war. It's like your Xbox, Windows users, your Xbox, I'm PlayStation, and they are the PC master race, and we must bow to them. Like everybody else, like there's nothing great about Windows. There's nothing great about Apple anymore. Maybe that's debatable. They're both, they're like the luxury car companies, if you will. Like if you went out and bought a Toyota Corolla and I went out and bought a Honda Civic, we shouldn't be bragging when our neighbor has a hot rod they built themselves. That's my opinion.
Job positions include data scientists, which are 70% men, software developers, which are 80% men, and electronic engineers, which are 90% men, and many more like that. Another example of this was Tesla, where roughly 15,000 American employees were fired in April 2024, and many were replaced with H-1B visa holders. On Twitter,
H-1B visas, like this was obviously humongous. Sam Hyde did his famous letter to Vivek and Elon about this, his open letter video. That turned me on to Sam Hyde. And let me tell you, I am very grateful to have that man's content in my life. His art, he's amazing, especially if you don't like his politics, but you consider yourself an outlier who's a creative type, you should at least listen to him about the lifestyle of being a creative and what it takes and what you have to do. That stuff started to change the way I think and change my life. And yet again, just like Jordan Peterson, I wish somebody like him had been in my life earlier.
Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy tried to chalk this up to these immigrants just simply being the best and the brightest. Yeah, okay. You're paying them less for longer hours and more work, and they're willing to deal with it in order to stay in the country. It's coercive, exploitative, and, dare I say, not very America first.
Nope.
When conservatives
kind of slavery light, and I would use that term. It's almost there, not quite. We're not there. We'll see how the history books refer to it, because I have a feeling they're going to be using different words than we use.
confronted Elon Musk for this last year, he told somebody, and I quote, "Take a big step back and yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend." So when it comes to replacing American workers in manual labor with cheap foreign labor, it's deport, deport, deport. But when it comes to replacing his American workers with cheap foreign labor, it's yourself in the face. Interesting. There's also affirmative action and DEI, which are other things Fox News always pisses and about. But suddenly, when the conversation is about Gen Z men, the demographic of people who are victims of these things, suddenly these things just don't exist anymore. Then it's, oh, young men are all just lazy. They just want to be in their parents' basement ordering DoorDash and playing video games. But it's not just the brown people taking your jobs. I am not beating the allegations with this one. The brown people are not taking your jobs, okay? It's not their fault. They're just cheaper. Aim upwards. But it's not just the brown people taking your jobs. It's the women, too.
Oh, yes.
Many of the dying industries are...
This is, I'm just going to... I like to pause when she brings up a new topic, because I like to express my thoughts preemptively in order to set the table. But... there's plenty of stories out there about how there's plenty of work that are jobs that women do, that they're hired for, that practically don't even seem like real work, that they aren't really doing anything. And one theory that I think I list, whether I connected the dots or they were being connected for me, and I just forgot how the constellation, if you will. Women tend to spend more money than men. They don't tend to save. They tend to be much more proactive about spending money. And so in order to juice the economy, having jobs specifically targeted, having jobs programs targeted to hiring women is a great way of infusing companies with more payroll in order to get that money into women's hands, in order to have that money go out into the economy, and thus the cycle of life continues. Just one of many reasons why the companies might have started to favor hiring women. Not only are they more agreeable, and to take it from an agreeable man, I'm like I said, I'm very feminine in a lot of ways. If you were to take a psychological exam of me, I'd probably, of masculine versus feminine traits, I'd probably be much more like of a chameleon or seemingly gender neutral than your average guy. But this is very true. Hey, that might explain my spending habits too. Fuck. Okay. But this is one of those reasons why these programs were made and pushed, was because they didn't necessarily want to get more women hired to diversify the workplace as much as they wanted to get more women hired to, if you will, launder money into the economy. So that's yet again just a theory, a political theory. Thanks for watching.
Male-dominated, while many of the growing industries are female-dominated, and stigma around these jobs being woman jobs usually stops men from working them. Women are overwhelmingly entering and excelling in college and the workforce, and they're more flexible about job position and pay, while young men usually hold out for higher-paying, higher-position jobs that will make them the breadwinner. Because you see, despite the world progressing and the role of women changing, the role of men has not changed. Every woman is a feminist until the dinner bill comes. But what's crazy is, women might be the ones paying that dinner bill soon.
Yep.
A study from the UK found women aged 22 to 29 earned about $1,000 more annually than men, completely reversing the traditional gender pay gap for this age group.
All right, can we shut up about it then? Can we? Ladies, can we agree that the pay gap is no longer a thing? Not that it ever was, or hasn't been in a long time. Bad math does not equal, yet again, mental viruses getting into our heads. The pay gap was always a mathematical shell game for the most part. I would probably say since the 90s. So now, yeah, women are making more. So what else do you want?
US, a 2022 Pew Research Center analysis showed that women under 30 out-earned men in many metropolitan areas, with median earnings at or above 100% of men's in cities like New York and Washington, D.C. That may not sound like a lot of money now, but it's a growing trend that has never been seen before. It's so bad that it's really starting to affect the dating world. American women have never been this resigned to staying single. They are responding to major demographic shifts, including huge and growing gender gaps in economic and educational attainment, political affiliation, and beliefs about what family should look like. More women than men are attending college, buying houses, and focusing on their friendships and careers over dating and marriage.
I want to say something here really quick. There's a video I did maybe a month ago about Crimes New Roman. He did a hit piece on legendary drops, and in his video, all he did was flash headlines on the screen as justification for his I guess his points that he was I keep saying they might be that they were making, and they never went into the articles. June here is showing full pages highlighting the specific points she's reacted to. Now maybe she is still cherry picking, but at the very least she's picking like more cherries. She's picking more specific, like riper cherries, if you will, if that is what she's doing. And the articles she cites actually back up her arguments versus the articles you reference just have a flashy headline. So Crimes New Roman, learn from June. This is how you cite sources in your videos, but I can't tell you how to live your life.
Challenges of finding a romantic partner have been made more complicated by a growing divide in education and career prospects between men and women. In 2024, 40% of American women ages 25 to 34 had a bachelor's degree, according to Pew, compared to 37% of men. A bachelor's degree increases net lifetime earnings by an estimated $1 million. Women are doing comparatively well when it comes to education in their early years in the labor force, and men are doing comparatively badly. Men's economic struggles seem to be having the biggest effect on women without a college degree, whose marriage rates by 45 have plummeted to 52% for those born between 1930 and 1980, according to research by Cornell University. Young men without a degree are struggling so much as a group that there simply aren't enough with steady jobs and earnings for non-college women to date. Men are poor, women most affected. Modern women are no longer tied to their gender role. Birth control has freed them from the prison that is their biology, and they are making their own money, sometimes more than men. They can have it all. They can do anything. They can be anything. What?
I think the problem is that they can do anything, but they can't do everything.
At the same time, men are still expected to be the provider. And more importantly, many men still want to be the provider, but they can't. And women, though strong and independent, still want men to be the provider.
And as a woman, I want a strong man who is a protector and a provider that will go to war if need be, that will protect me, protect my family, make money.
Basically, men are like, we're worried we're not making enough money. And women are like, we're worried men are not making enough money.
Well, yeah, just to go, yet again, citing Homath here or some summarizing him, it's like women don't find men who make less money than them to be attractive. They are now making more money than men, and so now they're running out of prospects. And just like I said, with the bell curve, there's fewer guys. If you go, there's an app out there that'll actually tell you how, like, you pop in your standards of who you're willing to settle down with, and it'll tell you what your chances of finding that person, like how dense they are in the population. And so if women, and it's one of those the weird things, but if women keep making more and more money, they stop. There's less men for them to date. And this is a generalization. There are definitely women out there who are willing to be the provider and still be in a committed relationship. There are plenty of women out there, I'm sure, that are the exceptions who will go out and date men who make less than them. But in general, in the bell curve way of there being a large segment of the population who thinks a certain way and acts a certain way and has those behaviors because of mostly our biology, they are not going to settle for less than what they earn. And instead of them wanting to earn less in order to let somebody else take over, they're just trying to pick a smaller sample size of men who can have the highest of standards because they have that they have that dog in them. Those are the masculine guys. We're talking like the most charismatic, the most the men who have the most value to their time, and you know what? And these men are the ones who don't care, just like every other guy. They don't care that you are successful. They don't care that you're making a lot of money. They will be just as fine going and finding a hostess who has a very pretty smile and a beautiful personality and just wants to be somebody's wife and somebody's partner, and wants to take on those domestic roles, because those guys are probably not looking for a woman, a woman who makes that money, who's providing that bag. They're already providing the bag, the man. So he's looking for other qualities to balance him out. So that's and like I said, if you want to know more about that, go and watch Homath's videos. They are some of the best, most well literally illustrated videos on the internet about the, I guess, gender war, if you will, the gender issues, the dating crisis, the everything that goes with crisis, dating being in crisis.
Hello class, I am Miss ShoeOnHead. I am substituting for your teacher today. She was arrested for molesting a 12-year-old boy. So today we are learning about the graph. This is the growth in productivity versus hourly compensation graph. And you can trace almost everything bad happening in society back to this graph. As you can see, productivity increased while compensation barely grew over the same time period. Notice they tracked very closely up until around 1972. Now, what happened around 1972, class?
Women entered the workforce. Was that the pill? No, the pill was like earlier, like in the 60s, wasn't it? I'm going to say on the basis of sex, right? Like the equality. If I were guessing, the gender equality decision by the Supreme Court. Let's go with that one.
Well, the top marginal tax rate was reduced from 70% in 1964 to 50% by 1981. The federal minimum wage began to stagnate. Income going to the 1% rose from 9% in the 60s to 16% in 2023. CEOs also went from making...
Now remember, that's percent. That's the part of the pie. So if they get more of the pie, there's less for everybody else.
20 times more than the average worker to making 350 times more than the average worker. Anything else? Anything else happen around 1972? Yes, Jimmy, that is correct. Women joined the workforce around this time, but we don't have to get into that today. The fact is, hard work no longer guarantees success, and the will to work is tied to the fruits of your labor. And young men are fed up today because 90% of that fruit is rotten. Now, is there some truth to modern young people being lazy? Sure, I guess. Every generation had lazy people. And we do basically live in late-stage mouse utopia, after all.
Yes.
Young people today are faced with...
If you're interested in more about mouse utopia, I would recommend What If Alt History has a video about mouse utopia, and it is terrifying, and we are living in it. You can just, everything that he talks about, you could probably find a TikTok that illustrates how the mouse utopia has become the human utopia. And utopias are fucking scary. Could be the death of us. Well, you and me, I mean, the other people will go on and, prosper after we've destroyed it all.
Two options. Revolution or escapism. And a lot of them are choosing escapism. Many have basically given up, but it's not like they didn't try. They tried, and they found out the juice just isn't worth the squeeze, whether it's college, dating, or the job market. And in a way, many young men are kind of choosing revolution. The never-before-seen large shift rightward in young men is a small revolution in a way. They're saying, this isn't working for me, this sucks, I hate this, I want something different. This is also manifesting on the Democrat side in general. The young men that are still voting left are voting further left. You saw this recently in New York City, where Zohran Mamdani, a self-proclaimed Democratic socialist, won the Democratic primary. Young men are tired of the establishment, left and right. They're tired of the system, and they want to burn it down and start again. They want something that works for them, because this is not working for them.
If you wake up one morning and you find yourself in a society where 23-year-olds with 4-year college degrees and initiative who aren't smoking weed every day, if they can't make enough to buy a car, much less a home, much less get married, much less have children, then why should you be surprised when half of them say they prefer socialism?
Fox News should hire that guy. There is an entire generation.
I have to admit, I saw Tucker, I think it was at Turning Points USA conference, and it was just on the heels of this Epstein situation cover-up, or lockdown, whatever you want to say, because it was already kind of covered up, but, it was like the doubling down on the cover-up. And, man, have I not agreed with the guy more than listening to him talk through the logics of why this was so horrible. Like I said, this is for Trump, considering he was in a legacy run for the of the presidency, kind of getting win after win that will go down in the history books. He is not going to be well spoken of if this continues. If he has to go down with the ship, I think it would be better for him and his whatever legacy he wants to leave. My personal opinion. I mean, we've all made mistakes, Donald. To just become, go born again. Just come out and be like, I've come to Christ, and because of that, I no longer can hide the secret. I think you'd win back the part of America that is most fondly going to remember you anyways.
Fighting aged men who are enraged and feel like they have nothing to live for. You should probably start caring. When they saw this airing on Fox News, they saw an angry woman nagging in their faces about how everything wrong in the world is their fault. An all too familiar thing they have been hearing for far too long. But unfortunately for Democrats, nobody under the age of 60 watches Fox News, so this is not really going to have an effect on young men whatsoever. So keep that $20 million. You might still need it, unless we get dragged into another war in the Middle East. If we do get dragged into another war in the Middle East, young men might come running back to the Democratic Party. Maybe not even a George Bush II electric boogaloo will have men coming back to the Democratic Party. Hopefully we don't find out. And as I'm editing this right now, a lot of young people, even the podcast bros, seem pretty upset about the Epstein thing, but we know Democrats won't take advantage of the situation in order to protect the Clintons, so maybe not even this will save them, but we'll see, I guess. Hold on one second. That's better. So that was that video. What do you think of the male loser epidemic? Do you agree with Tommy Lauren? Is it all men's fault? Leave your comments below. I read them all. I am probably reading them right now as you type them. Wait, don't write that. No, You can't say that. No, it doesn't matter if it's with an A. If you like this video, please subscribe. And if you can, donate to me on Patreon or leave a little tip with the little tip jar down below. I'll give it a little heart. It helps the channel and I appreciate it so much. And I will see you guys again soon with a new video, a new slop video. Because I know you gremlins love that shit. Bye!
Oh, I do love it when she reacts to just the worst takes online. Let's see if she has a outro this time. She didn't have it last time. Maybe she's evolving in her video productions. But yeah, no, this is great. Maybe I'll type a comment out here in just 1 second. Yeah, okay, maybe she's just done with that era of her videos. All right, I'm just going to say really quick, math was right. I'll just leave that. All right. Well, that was another video from ShoeOnHead. She is one of the inspirations for me to start doing this. I've covered all of her videos, I think, since I've started this channel. And even though they don't always do the best for me, but it still can't help but it gets me thinking. It gets me talking. I do enjoy it so very much. Well, I hope if you're a dude out there, I hope you're doing okay. I hope if you're a woman out there, I hope I didn't turn you off completely. But this is, you know, we're dealing with the primordial sense of self. And so it brings out some primordial feelings for me. So thank you so much for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and also if you know somebody who is a male loser and contributing to this epidemic, why don't you send them this video? Tell them to pull themselves up by the bootstraps and click that link, okay? All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for watching yet again, and enjoy yourself. All right, let's do. I'd like to thank y'all so much for watching Jolie's. I'd like to take a minute to thank you for watching Jolie's. You can easily... Shit, I can't think. I gotta pee, actually. I'm trying to do these and then pee. Thank you... Excuse me. And finally...